What's up, guys? Welcome back to Kitchen Court Cases, where we watch court in my kitchen. And tonight we are looking at a TPO hearing that is a little out in left field. In fact, the judge has to stop it partway through because things get so intense. I hope you enjoy.
So this will be case 23-185. And Ms. Dowell, Mr. Baugh, you two can go ahead and turn on your sound.
Hello.
There we go. Okay, and so I see from my records here that you were served notice at today's hearing and a copy of the petition that Ms. Mackey filed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm going to verify with you as well that there was nothing filed in response. I didn't see that you two filed any documents or papers of your own.
Oh, I have quite a few threads of emails that had been forwarded. I did double check that they were on the file, and I did see them on there with our case number. But I did have quite a few threads between our property manager and us, just going over previous issues, pretty in detail on each issue, actually.
Were those filed by you?
Yes, they were. And then I also
my exhibits are kind of not particularly well organized here, so
yeah, I have all the exhibit names, and then for the 2 videos and a couple photos that I have, I also have those names written here. So if it's easier to do it by search, I can just give you those directly.
Yeah, just hold on one second here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, okay, I did get it. I was looking in the wrong place. That was my fault. No, I did see those. There are a couple of videos and some other things. Yeah, I did see those. Okay, didn't mean to scare you there. I did get what you filed.
Thank you.
All right, and then also, of course, Ms. Mackey, I have the information that you filed as well. Okay, now I've read, as I said, except for what was just filed this morning, I have read and seen everything that was filed in this case. So I have a good overview, Ms. Mackey, of what you're claiming that Ms. Dowell and Mr. Baugh have done.
I did want to say there is commentary on the information that was given to you in court just now.
This?
Yes, in relation to the claims that that are being presented to you as quote unquote evidence. There was never any verbal interaction between myself and the respondents.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of stop you right there.
Okay. I just want to make sure that
right at this point, what I'm doing is just making sure that everybody knows kind of what's already been done up to this point in the case, what's available for everybody to review and to prepare. And then in a moment here, we're going to kind of enter a little bit the more formal part of this, where I'm going to swear the parties in, and I'm going to hear from both sides and make a decision about this order that's been petitioned for, taking into account, everything that you've already filed and everything that you tell me today. So I'm going to kind of orient you to how I'm going to do this. Okay, this is for both of you. First of all, I'm prefacing this by saying that I am familiar with the situation as you've presented it to the court from both sides. So all the documents you filed, there were also videos and some other things, emails. I have reviewed all those, and I am familiar with what you're claiming and what your response is. I'm going to swear you both in, and then the way this will go is, Ms. Mackey, you're the petitioner in this case, and I'm going to let you go first, and I'm going to let you tell me why it is that you think that the court should grant or extend the anti-harassment order. You'll get an uninterrupted chance to tell me your side of it. And then once you've done that, once you've finished with that, then it'll be Ms. Dowell and Mr. Baugh's turn. Same thing. You'll both tell me your side of it, your response, anything that you think I need to know. And then after I've heard from each of you, I'll make a decision about whether the order gets granted. And I want you to all of you to understand that I apply the preponderance of the evidence standards. So in this case, Ms. Mackey, or the petitioner, you have the burden to show by preponderance of the evidence, and that means the greater weight of the evidence, that you're entitled to the order that you're asking the court to issue. So when I
request the paperwork as notes, because I only have one copy.
I'm sorry, are you requesting
the paperwork that I just gave to you?
this?
Yeah, because that's my only copy.
This is the only one you had?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I need that.
Yes,
as my
I
notes.
will do that. I'll have the clerk make a copy, and then you can have that in your hand. So during the time that we're doing this, I'm going to ask both Ms. Dow and Mr. Bod to just not interrupt Ms. Mackey when she tells her side of things. And then Ms. Mackey, same thing, when they tell their side of things, don't interrupt them. Thank you. And then that way I'll be able to hear, both of you and be able to make a decision based on what you tell me.
Can I request that the respondents go show their evidence first?
No, that wouldn't be the right procedure. Those are yours, by the way. No, you'll need to go first. But again, and so we're going to get started with this. So can I have all three of you please raise your right hands? And do each of you swear that the testimony that you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody? All right, thank you.
I didn't know if you
Good.
wanted.
Okay, so Ms. Mackey, you get to go first and tell me why you believe the court should issue this order. And while you're doing that, just do keep in mind that like I said, I've read your petition. I'm familiar with those circumstances. I'll tell you if it's too long. Okay.
All right. Since 2020, I have endured continual and now increasingly malicious noise harassment, vandalism, damage to property, and threats of harm from the respondents. This behavior has increased and escalated in frequency and severity after police were called and after being served. The respondents have increased their hate crime, harassment, and threatening behavior after being served. I am requesting the court extend my protection order and have the respondents evicted from the entire Westlake apartment property for my safety. I have had to flee to a DVD shelter outside the area due to the increased and malicious, loud, and threatening behavior by the respondents after being served. They have evaded police several times to avoid being served. They have continued harassment and threats after police called numerous times. They have now increased their violent noise harassment relentlessly during the day and throughout the night. The damage has included inducing trauma from the relentless, severe, and violent noise, hate crime, vandalism, and threats to harm. These threats have included, quote unquote, I will bash your head in if I see you on your bike, quote unquote, fuck you, fucking bitch, I'm going to fuck you up, and quote unquote, I'm going to bang your head. The apartment, as of right now, is completely uninhabitable due to their increase in violent, threatening behavior. This behavior includes kicking my door, banging on the outside of my apartment wall in the middle of the night, damage to the ceiling, cracks and water leaking from the roof, from stomping the floor and walls. This is damage to my apartment, the ceiling and the bathroom, and the living room right now has cracks in it. Making unprovoked comments in bedroom windows several times a day, This is in reference to their quote unquote evidence. This was done completely unprovoked. I'm inside my home. He's outside, coming outside several times to make comments through my window. He's making the comments. I am not making any comments at all. I'm inside my home. These comments are unprovoked and malicious in content, making felony harassment threats to seriously harm when me entering or leaving the house on my bike. When I say felony harassment threats, I am referring to the threats of immediate harm done completely unprovoked when I'm leaving and entering, when I'm leaving my house on my bike. Blocking the doorway and parking right in front of my door to harass and frighten and intimidate. This was done both before and after being served. He continued, both parties, the respondents continued to park right in front of my door. Increasing in frequency and severity of brazen threats, noise harassment, and relentless violent behavior. This behavior not only continued, but it actually increased in severity, and this is why I am not able to be there. They were court ordered to not be on the property after these threats were made, in addition to the harassment, and they continued to remain there. And so I am having to leave for my safety, which I am asking the court to take into consideration, because right now I'm paying to live in an apartment that's completely inhabitable. I cannot be there. I'm asking the court to please extend my protection order and have the respondents evicted and removed from the property for my safety. And I'm asking this after dealing with this since 2020. They've had numerous chances. They've had numerous very lenient, both law enforcement, property owners, and myself have been very lenient. I opt not to call the police the last time before leaving the apartment. I opt not to call the police and have them arrested so they could be here to present their side of the story, because I believe in the Constitution. I believe in constitutional rights. I believe my rights and everybody else should have their rights to be heard. Thank you.
And then Mr. Baugh and Ms. Dell, I guess you can choose between yourselves who goes first, and then I'll hear from the other afterwards.
Actually, you can go first. It's the same story, same thing, basically the same story.
Yeah. Okay. So we have multiple pieces of information. As I got the paper on Sunday evening, and I wasn't able to get the police record, the phone call record, but I did submit that. So if we are maybe wanting that as a key piece of information, we can maybe push it out. I don't know how we would do that. I'm not familiar with this stuff, but we have called the police multiple times between us. We've had our property manager as well as our right next door upstairs neighbors out there multiple times. And all three of us have actually had to call the cops together and separately on multiple occasions due to noise disturbances. We also had one incident where there was just screaming very, very loudly. We were all standing out there. We all called the cops together and nobody.
Everything they're saying is not
Just
true.
hang on for a second, Ms. Dell, okay?
Blatantly not true.
Ms. Mackey, please, I said at the beginning to don't interrupt each other, and I'm gonna
Okay,
just do
very
this. I'm
clear
gonna
right
just do
now
this one reminder that
the
there
information
can't be any interruptions. Ms. Mackey, it's important that you don't interrupt people, because that's not how court works, okay? Court works by people talking one at a time, and if you interrupt each other, it makes it impossible to understand what's going on, okay? So just like good manners, we don't interrupt each other in court, okay?
what they're saying is untrue.
Okay, I understand that, but keep in mind that I heard your side. I'm going to hear their side. And that's how it works. Everybody gets to tell their side. You don't get to interrupt each other while you're doing that. Okay. Like I said, that just makes it impossible to do this correctly. So even though you believe they're telling me things that aren't true, I'm going to ask you to hold your peace because remember, I already heard your side, right? Okay, so Ms. Dowell, go ahead.
Thank you. And then if you are wanting more information or evidence on that, I am actually looking into getting the actual phone call from that night because that was my main goal, was to actually get that phone call so that you could hear the apartment manager actually stating what was going on. She was the one who was talking at first. But then, so I have kind of a timeline written out that just kind of shows basically the events that have gone down. So we moved into Westlake's apartments in October of 2019. Our first complaint was actually on August 10th, 2020, and it just went on from there and has escalated as we have been the ones who have been harassed. Our first incident where I was actually harassed myself, it wasn't as much including Mustafa, it was actually more just me. We were going hiking one morning, and this is actually went over in the email, and as you can see in the email, it has the dates, so they are from the exact time that it happened because my property manager wanted me to have a record. Probably for this reason. But we were going hiking and we were loading the car up, and I went out to the car on my own. And I was just loading the stuff up, and she come out to the door and held the door open and hid it into a different car and was really, really intimidating me until Mustafa came out and saved me and sent me upstairs. Thank goodness, because I was shaking. I was so scared, and I have been afraid in this apartment ever since. We have been avoiding all type of contact with her ever since that incident had happened. We just have a 1-year-old right now. We have a baby. So any type of noise, unfortunately, would be related to the baby. And we do try to keep it as quiet as possible because she's sleeping most of the time. During the daytime from 9 to 7 o'clock, Mustafa, he's worked full time the entire time we've lived here. I worked full time for most of the time until getting close to the birth. So we mostly been gone during the daytime. And then, so we're here every single night, but we're gone during the day. So noise during the daytime has never made any sense to us, but we have been receiving information about that. I have images and videos that I have put in the file that include her stalking and watching us as we're coming in and out of our unit, our apartment with our baby also. In arms. So we have her videoing us and our child. And relating to the parking, we actually do not get to. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead, Ms. Dowell.
Relating to the parking, we do not have assigned parking here. We do not get to choose where we park. We don't have an undercover parking because that does cost an extra fee that we don't pay. So we get to park wherever there's any open spots. And unfortunately, her unit is directly below ours, which makes the walkway within the same couple feet. And her window is literally completely kitty corner, top and bottom to ours. So there's no way that we can park anywhere else. We have very limited parking. A lot of the time we actually have to park on the other side because there's so little parking and so many people in this area. We do not have a say in where we get to park at all. It's just where we go. But we also have multiple police records of us making phone calls just for regular noise complaints, which I'm trying to get a hold of at the moment. We have never had the police called on us besides this being served. And I was trying to see if I could get any records of that. I'm not super familiar with with how this stuff goes, but we have never had any like noise complaints here or anything. We have had one issue with Mary discussing noise, and we invited her in. She came in and listened to our noise, cleared everything that we were doing. And that was the only time we've ever had any issues.
Ms. Dell, can I have you just hold on for 1 second here?
Yes.
Ms. Becky, you appear to be struggling to follow the rules. Okay. And I've reminded you a couple of times and you did it again. And I'm trying to listen to what Ms. Dowell is telling me the same way I listen to what you're telling me. So what I'm going to do here, because this may be a situation where emotions are hard to control. So Ms. Dowell, Mr. Baugh, I want you to hear this too. I'm going to take a break here. All right. I'm going to take 5 minutes. And then Ms. Mackey, I want you to spend those 5 minutes kind of getting yourself in the frame of mind to do a court hearing, which means, you got to focus, you got to follow the rules, and you can't interrupt people. Okay. Then after that 5 minutes, we'll come back and then we'll let Ms. Dowell finish up and then I'll make a decision. Okay. But I think it's going to be best if you just take a breath, maybe go outside and get a couple breaths of fresh air and then come back in here and we'll finish up. Okay. So we'll be at recess for the next 5 minutes.
Okay. Yes,
you.
sir.
I know that ended up being a little longer than the 5 minutes I said, but I ended up with a distracting phone call. So I apologize for that. But we will pick up where we left off. Ms. Dowell and Mr. Ba, are you two ready to resume where we left off?
Yes, we are. Let me just get back to
go ahead.
All right. So a few things we just, I just took note of. So the leaks, the cracks and damage and such in the bathroom area, I wanted to address that real quick. So our apartment manager is very aware of the situation that has caused damage in that area. There was a leak in our bathroom. One of the connector pieces got worn and had completely come off. Mary actually came over and tried to help and made it worse and actually had it spewing out. That was her that accidentally did that. And then we had to get one of the maintenance fellas to come over and help us. So she's very well aware of that. That was actually her doing more than us, as well as the faulty pieces under the sink. So that is, she's very aware of that. That is definitely not due to any type of banging. We have experienced intense banging over the whole time we've lived here. Not due to us. Most of the time when we hear that, we message with our neighbors. We're friends with our neighbors next door, and they've had ongoing issues with her as well. But they are also very well aware. We're trying to get statements, but everybody around here works. We had short time. We have a kid, so it's been hard to get everything all in order in a timely manner. But we can get statements from them as well. Just going over their issues and such, and their experiences with her, and they've called the police multiple times for wellness checks for sound complaints. So that's another issue that they've had as well. And then and the videos and photos that I have are not all of the evidence, but that is just all that I have at the moment because I did get a new phone and not all of my images were saved onto the iCloud. And so I have only that limited stuff, but there has been multiple more encounters that I have gone over in the emails that explain a little bit better and more what's going on. We've been very desperate about this situation. We didn't know what to do, and we have asked the cops for advice. We have asked our property manager for advice. You can hear or kind of understand the desperation in those emails. It kind of comes across, I feel. But the cops have come to her house multiple times, and we've asked them for advice, and no one's told us what we should do other than just try to avoid and ignore the situation and the noises. And that's basically what we've been doing, is just trying to focus on being parents, working, because of course, the economy is kind of, a lot right now. So we've just been trying to focus on, our lives and doing our thing. We didn't realize there was any type of order we could file to kind of deal with the issue. Otherwise, we would have done this back way before the baby even had come, because we've been dealing with this issue for a very long time. And there has been a verbal confrontation multiple times. It is on multiple different occasions.
Yes. Yeah, and some of the banging, and there was a couple of times that she would bang. Some of the banging would get so severe that there was one time I was scared for her. I thought there was someone down there beating her up and throwing her around. And then so I went down and I was knocking on her door like, "Hey, what's going on? Is someone okay?" And then I heard her yelling, get the F away from my door. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was,
yeah. And she has called us the B word. She has said F you guys, F you all, and F you too on multiple occasions to us, using very vulgar language, saying this is America, saying she was going to put a curse. It's been very strange stuff that's going on. And our property manager wasn't comfortable to make a statement. She didn't want to get super involved, but she is willing to, if you need to call for any factual information on actual events, actual timeline, she's available for that. But she just didn't want to release an emotional statement because she didn't feel it was appropriate. But she does know about everything, and she's been involved the entire time, knows about everything in detail.
Yeah, I saw the emails.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you going over that. Most of that, or much of that, is information that was also in the exhibits and so forth. And I fully understand what your response is. And Ms. Mackey, I also understand the allegations that you've made against Mr. Baugh and Ms. Dowell. Now, I got to, kind of start and preface this by saying that in a dispute like this, or, conflict like this between people who live in the same apartment complex or neighbors, the court doesn't have the authority to evict anybody. They don't have the authority to move people out of their homes or restrict their ability to be in their homes. That's not within the jurisdiction of this court, and it's not within the powers that the court has under the anti-harassment law. Evictions and things like that are different. They're handled in superior court, and they're handled in a different way than this. So I'm taking that right off the table. That is not a possibility here for the court to do that. So what I do have to do is look at what I've been told, what I've been shown in exhibits, and weigh all that up and determine whether there's been proof here of harassment. And I'm going to say, right at the start here, that I am not persuaded by a preponderance of the evidence that there's been harassment by Mr. Baugh and Ms. Dowell against Ms. Mackey. I can't find that based on the evidence that's been presented here today. It doesn't rise to the level of being strong enough to find by a preponderance of the evidence that harassment has occurred. Now, that isn't to say that I don't find that there's conflict here, or that there have been, some bad words exchanged and unattractive things said, and people have attributed, each of you, I think, has attributed to the other some bad motives, and you clearly have tried in your own way to get these things addressed by talking to your property manager and also to law enforcement. But ultimately, you've landed here, in front of me, and I put it to you this way because I do need you to understand that these proceedings are limited. I don't just have unlimited authority to, resolve the conflict between the two of you. That isn't within the powers of the court. What I can do is what the law has given me the authority to do. But under that law, I do not believe that the proof is there, that it's sufficient in order to find that there's been that kind of harassment by Mr. Baugh and Ms. Dowell against you, Ms. Mackey. So as a result, I'm going to have to deny your order. And, I would like to leave you with, I appreciate that the two of you, or, the three of you, the two sides here, that you've attempted to resolve this in peaceful ways by going through your property manager, going through law enforcement, instead of confronting each other, instead of there being any violence. That's definitely preferable. Now, there isn't a resolution, obviously. I can't send you away from here with all your problems solved and make you good neighbors with each other, but I will encourage you to keep on handling this in a peaceful way between you, and hopefully, I hope that your property manager will be able to offer a little bit more in the way of, relief than maybe they have up to this point. Because as I said, the court just cannot solve your problem in the way I think you want it solved. So the bottom line here, Ms. Mackey, is unfortunately for you, your petition for the order is denied, and that will bring this case to a conclusion. Now, I will write up an order that is consistent with what I said here, and that order will be available in the court file permanently, and any of you can get a copy of it whenever you'd like.
Sir, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Are we good to hang up?
Yes, you are. You're good to go whenever you'd like. And if you want to grab a written copy of this order, you can call the clerk's office anytime today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was interesting. Honestly, I don't think that we learned a lot from the respondents, but the judge seemed to have reviewed all the documents and already decided that this was a no-go. Oh man, I wish we had had a permanent camera on her in the courtroom. I don't like it when they only do the like judge camera, two judge cameras. Anyways, if you guys liked that video, I am going to put a link on the screen right now for another great TPO hearing that I think you'll enjoy. Please like the video. Don't be a dick. Give the like a click. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.